All right. Welcome back to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, with all your cool wrestling stuff, all your news, all the storylines that's happening in professional wrestling. Can't wait to get it done. Can't wait to get it started. Hope you guys are having an amazing week. It is Thursday. We are one step closer to Friday. Of course, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Hope everybody's having an amazing Thursday night, having some good plans for Friday. Hopefully, going out with a couple of friends, or maybe maybe if your idea of having a good time is just staying home with a good book. So, hey, sometimes, whatever. Teach your own. Teach your own, baby. Teach your own. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today lined up. We have our AEW Dynamite review. We also have our Thursday Night Wrestling preview. We jump into the world of Ring of Honor, also Impact Wrestling, and we're going to, explain some of the results and, some of the implications after NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, the Power episode that aired on the CW app Tuesday night. We're also going to get into Trick Williams and Jordan Grace have both issued open challenges for their titles, and they are both very open to having either a TNA star or a WWE star, answer that call because, the best fight the best, I guess, you know what I mean? So that's kind of cool. And then we're going to move on to of course, it's Thursday, so we have our tag team World Cup. And like I said before, there might be a little, this might be a little subjective, a little less objective because I'm the host, you know what I mean? So deal with it. I'm just kidding. No, I will try to, try to take it in consideration, but there's some teams that I just love so damn much. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to let them go away. But, we'll get into that segment 4. Segment 5, we're going to cap it all off with our Thursday night wrestling superstar spotlight. We're talking about Maxwell, Jacob Freeman, MJF tonight. Hopefully we have enough time. We always tend to run out of time. So let's go ahead and move on. I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Give me your questions, comments, concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me there's something wrong with my hair. There's something wrong with my lighting. I don't know why, but it looks like I'm like lit up. I'm illuminated like I'm some kind of sign on like a bar that's supposed to say Cooper's Light or something. Like, I don't know. It's it's just my lighting. You know what I mean? You get to see this beautiful mug all, you can't really see my wrinkles. So to be honest, I kind of like it. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not that old. I'm just moving on. Make sure you tune into the GSMC, Wrestling Laureate podcast. Hit up the tips and donations link. Always, guys. Always chat. Don't be afraid to tell me how you feel. Don't be afraid to talk. Wrestling fans, we're a different fandom. Obviously, it's not like the NBA. I don't want to keep saying WNBA. WNBA, of course, as well. It's not like Major League Baseball. It's not like NFL. Different perspectives, different, opinions about things are much encouraged instead of just like nodding your head and being that yes man. No wrestling fan wants to agree with another wrestling fan. You guys want to, talk. You guys want to hash it out. Share some words and stuff like that. Cut your own personal promos. But this puts your question up on top of the list so I can see it. It really does help the show here at the GSMC Sports Network. Leave with peace, love, and positivity. Remark. We love positive remarks, but if you have to criticize, I'm always open to criticism as well. Feedback is a gift. Always a gift. And again, the link is at the GSMCpodcast.net. So let's going to jump right on into our first segment. We're going to talk about our AEW Dynamite review. So without further gilding the lily, let's get into it. We have Maxwell, Jacob Freeman, who we're going to cover on our Thursday Superstar Spotlight, if we have enough time. He came out, of course, everybody was, after he returned on AEW's Double or Nothing not earlier, last month. I think it was 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago. You had AEW Double or Nothing at the MGM Grand. So he basically put everybody on notice. He put everybody on notice inside the locker room, like, hey guys, honestly, I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you. And he started spitting some straight up facts. He says he's been watching a whole bunch of children on his show demanding things, taking his title, taking his glory. And he made, kind of remarks toward the 3 champions in AEW. You have the Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada. You also have the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland. And of course, you have the AEW International Champion, the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. So it's kind of cool. I want to see MJF fight a couple of these guys, to be honest. That's just me being brutally honest. That'd be pretty awesome. So the next we kind of move on. We have Orange Cassidy against Kyle O'Reilly, against Jay Lethal, against Rey Fenix for that AEW number one contender for the International Championship shot at Will Ospreay next week on Dynamite. Of course, you have Will Ospreay, who won the Casino Battle Royale last week, and he's going to fight Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. So that should be, pretty badass. Should be pretty interesting to kind of see what happens with that. Rey Fenix was able to kind of move past. I honestly kind of thought Orange Cassidy was going to win because he's a two-time AEW International Champion. So I was like, it'd be kind of cool to have Orange Cassidy kind of go out there. But of course, after the match, when Rey Fenix left and he collected his glory, and he was like, "All right, deuces, I'm out of here." You had the Trent Beretta of the Don Callis, the newly member. No, that doesn't sound right. The newly added member of the Don Callis family, Trent Beretta, come out and wanted to challenge, Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed right off the bat, which is, I kind of thought this rivalry was going to end at, AEW's Double or Nothing. But it's going to be interesting to kind of, obviously former best friends, him, those two and Chuck Taylor kind of reminded me of like a Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa kind of thing, like, DIY when they broke up and they had their absolute, slugfest and stuff like that. And I think even it was Tony Schiavone that said, these guys seem like they still have a lot of animosity toward each other. These guys still feel like, obviously they have some unsolved business, but if they solve that business, perhaps maybe they can come together and be a tag team again. It's going to be kind of crazy, to see kind of how further they kind of go forward within, both of these character developments, this story and this rivalry. So, it should be pretty interesting, what comes forward, what comes next. Trent Beretta's a beast, man. He's a dog. He wants to beat the heck out of freshly squeezed. So then you saw Kris Statlander come out. You saw Stokely. Kris Statlander slaps Orange Cassidy, and I was like, "Oh God, She even knocked him down. She knocked him down. That's how strong Kris Statlander is. It's crazy." So Kris Statlander's, Solamente becoming this huge heel turn. She's becoming this, kind of this focal point for wrestling for people who admire women's wrestling. They'd be like, "Man, this girl's kind of a jerk, but you kind of have to respect her because she's been within like a couple of independent wrestling circuits." But to come out to aid Orange Cassidy, you had Willow Knightingale, smile all the time, no matter what. Obviously, I think that mantra is kind of out the window now. After she acknowledged in an interview with Renee Paquette, she was like, "You know what? I lost. Congratulations to Mercedes Moné. But something that I cannot get over is when people stab me in the back." Obviously she was kind of hinting at the betrayal of Kris Statlander. Most importantly, she kind of knew Stokely was a dog already. I think you can kind of tell, like, just looking at him, he seemed a little sketch. So you're going to probably see Willow Nightingale heading toward Forbidden Door, and Kris Statlander fighting each other, fighting out former best friends, kind of like this Trent Beretta, Orange Cassidy. I can imagine probably next week on Dynamite, you're going to see maybe like a mixed tag team match. Would be pretty cool. I know AEW has been hinting at a mixed tag team championships, which would be pretty cool, which would be actually absolutely monumental. That'd be pretty badass. So yeah, she came out, and Willow Nightingale had a couple of words. Next, you see the FTW champion arrive, to the stadium, to the arena, and he was just so over. Chris Jericho, he's just been so overbearingly obnoxious. "Thanks, guys. Thank you." Like, oh man. Like, as soon as he won that championship, and as soon as the fans were like, "Hey, F you, Chris Jericho, retire. Please retire. Please retire." Like, it's just, after that, I feel like Chris Jericho's kind of on a mission to kind of make asses of the audience members and stuff like that, because he's out there and he's just like, what's the number one rule when you're in a world trying to deal with somebody who could perhaps like be in a bad mood, or perhaps can like have like kind of like a shitty attitude. It's kill him with kindness. kill him with kindness. And that's something that Chris Jericho is doing right now with the whole AEW roster. It's pretty crazy. He invited a private party to his show next week on Dynamite. So it should be pretty interesting, to find out who steps up to the FTW champion. Obviously have the big Redwood, big Cass, Big Bill. And then you have the bounty hunter, Brian Keith. Now they're what I think they call him the Bad Apple. Now he's the Bad Apple, which is kind of I think that was kind of funny. But I don't know. It's kind of cool. The learning tree. We're the learning tree. So yeah. It's kind of crazy. You saw Christopher Daniels come out and announce the ladder match once again for the TNT Championship. Obviously, Adam Copeland fractured his tibia, had to go through surgery. He actually already did it. So, the time length of how long he's going to be out, I will update you guys as soon as I can, as soon as I get that news. But I'm anticipating probably like I would say maybe half a year. Perhaps maybe we will see him at AEW All In answer, like an open challenge or something like that. That could be a huge possibility for Adam Copeland, and that's kind of like his MO. Obviously, he had a couple of surprise returns from the WWE, like the Royal Rumble, and then you saw him, pop up in AEW. So, that's a huge possibility. So we had the qualifying match between the ROH, the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion Mark Briscoe, against leader of the Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage. And I was happy to see Mark Briscoe win. I love Mark Briscoe. There's something about him. There's something about him that's so like absolutely relatable. At the same time, you can see him as as like an athlete and as like a wrestler. But at the same time, you can kind of relate to him. You can tell that he's a fan of wrestling. You can tell that he's been through some pretty hard times. Last year, I think it was a year and a half, he lost his brother Jay, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. A lot of people are behind Mark Briscoe. And he's so like, if you pay attention to how he dictates and kind of how he approaches himself and handles the matchup, you can be like, man, this guy's a little cuckoo. This guy might be a little quirky and dorky and a little weird, but I'm into it. I think it's badass. I love Mark Briscoe, and I definitely hope he, continues his dominance. I don't know how far he will go in this ladder match, but when Mark Briscoe is inside of a ladder match with, access to tables, ladders, fire extinguishers, 2x4s with nails, thumbtacks, etc. It's gonna be badass. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be highly entertaining. So, super happy that I saw Mark Briscoe move on. And then you saw a promo cut by Jack Perry. I hate Jack Perry. Absolutely despise him. But hey, and that probably means he's doing his job well. He's doing that. The heel real well. If he's getting audience members like me to kind of be like, "Oh, Jack Perry, you suck. You can't cut a good promo. You were a second-rate wrestler. You were mean to CM Punk. You're absolutely disrespectful to all the veterans. Like, what I mean? That's just his like persona. And if, like I said, if I'm talking about it on a wrestling news show, obviously, he's done his job right. At the same time, bad publicity sometimes can be good publicity. So, hey. Next, we saw the Premier Athletes tempt Hook in the backstage interview with Renee Paquette. You saw Hook with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe has kind of recently, as of last week, kind of convinced Hook not to walk into that 3-on-1 situation with Brian Keith, Big Bill, and FTW World Champion Chris Jericho. Kind of saving his ass a little bit. Like, gonna be like, dude, like, just think about this. Do this on your own terms. Be patient. It's going to happen. Is Samoa Joe helping Hook? Can he be helping Hook? Or can he be setting him up to fail? Or can he be, putting Hook in situations where he gets, knocked out, or where he possibly could step down from challenging Chris Jericho for the FTW championship? Like, who knows? Obviously, it's in Samoa Joe's playbook and his reputation to be a little, disingenuous. So that, it's a high possibility. It's going to be interesting to kind of see moving forward how this Samoa Joe character development is going to be. I know he said in a recent interview that he's absolutely excited. He can't wait to get back into the World Heavyweight title picture in AEW. So, or maybe, Ring of Honor. So it should be pretty interesting. So Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed were banned from the arena, from the Elite. Classic abuse of power here by the Elite, the EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. Oh man, I can't believe they kicked him out. I thought there was going to be probably a triple threat, not triple threat, a 3-on-3 6-man tag team match tonight. Uh, I don't know. I think they're kind of heading toward maybe the Acclaimed challenging Matthew and Nicholas Jackson for their AEW World Tag Team titles because honestly, in the tag team division, in terms of men, I haven't really been seeing much lately on Dynamite Rampage or or Collision. Obviously, sometimes they have their tag team there, but nothing really addresses. No one actually steps out there and he's like, you know what? I'm going for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Like, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that lately. I haven't seen that in probably a couple of weeks. So honestly, I think AEW, Tony Khan, creatives, you guys need to focus on, reestablishing that the AEW World Tag Team division, because obviously you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it, sometimes during the best, during the best times of a wrestling promotion, you have to have all cylinders clicking. You have to have the world title picture, set forth. You have to have the women's world heavyweight championship, ready to go. You have to have the tag team division ready to go. And now there's the world tag team, and then sometimes they have that secondary title. In this case, in AEW, you kind of have no, three. You have the international, you have the continental, and you also have the FTW. I think that's it. I think WWE just has the Intercontinental United States, and well, now the newly added, WWE Speed. So now I know that's kind of crazy. That's also the TNT Championship. So that's kind of cool. So kind of moving on. So then we have Mercedes Moné talks about rivals again. Once again, she's finding another familiar foe from New Japan Professional Wrestling Strong. She's fighting Stephanie Facure or whatever. She recently fought Willow Nightingale, had a rematch. Obviously, she broke her foot, due to circumstances that had nothing to do with Willow Nightingale whatsoever. So now Mercedes Moné, title for title, is going to fight Vecchia at Forbidden Door. So it should be pretty interesting. Next, we see the Blackpool Combat Club against the CMLL. It was a 4-on-4. It was an absolute battle royal for a little while there. It was kind of cool. 4-on-4 was just absolutely, tornado tag style, which is kind of cool. I like that, attitude era kind of guy. So the BCC was able to kind of claim victory. John Moxley's just on fire right now. John Moxley, although Bryan Danielson did lose Anarchy in the arena, there's no doubt in my mind he still could. He declared himself to be fighting in the Owen Hart Cup tournament, so that should be pretty interesting to kind of see what it comes to that. Also, what else did we see? We saw Claudio Castagnoli go out there as well and fight for the BCC, and I think these four superstars have a lot to kind of move. I feel like with Forbidden Door right around the corner, you're building up matches. And something about AEW is you kind of still have to be on pay-per-view. So you kind of still have to sell to a certain extent. I know WWE, they had the WWE network for a little while. Now they have a, streaming partnership with Peacock. So, having crazy matches or crazy promos for the longest time, because WWE didn't really have, someone to compete with before AEW in 2019. So they were able to kind of just reproduce and keep throwing up the same, stupid crap over and over again. And we would just buy because we're like, well, there's nothing else to kind of watch, in the professional wrestling industry. So now I feel like since AEW knows that they're going to go on pay-per-view, or you can find YouTube or Bleacher Report, you have to ultimately sell those tickets. You have to sell and it's not cheap. When's the last time you paid for pay-per-view? Crazy, absolutely crazy. I paid just $50 for AEW Double or Nothing, and it wasn't bad, and it was worth it. It was worth, all the pennies. So it was, kind of cool. So you see the Elite backstage form an alliance with the Patriarchy, Christian Cage, obviously. Mariah May and Saraya, had a good match. Saraya she picked up the victor. Tony Storm and May were attacked after the match, but you saw Mina Shirakawa come out to aid Mariah May. Didn't really care about her opponent heading toward Forbidden Door, Tony Storm, and they were kind of fighting over Mariah. It was kind of funny. It was kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously they have some hidden innuendos or whatever they want to do in terms of that, but I don't know. It was kind of funny. It's kind of funny to see that because in wrestling you're not used to seeing that anymore. But I feel kind of bad for Mariah May. Mariah May said that she supports both superstars, Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. So, it should be pretty cool. Next, we have the AEW World Heavyweight title match between Swerve Strickland and Roderick Strong. Something I credit to Roderick Strong was he was able to keep this match semi-clean, mostly clean. Obviously, you saw the Undisputed Kingdom come out. It was a great match. It was a great match, but still, AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland. So you saw Swerve defy the odds because I kind of knew he was going to win anyways. Because I want to see him and Will Ospreay fight at at Forbidden Doors. So yeah. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. Our segment 2, we're going to launch into the Thursday Night Wrestling preview, where I dive into Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling. Also, we're going to talk about the NWA as well. Power aired on the CWF. So hey, do not go anywhere.